We are live. Thank you guys for coming on in today. We have Chris already in. Thank you for calling first. Today we have an awesome guest inside of the reviewers table, and his name is Brian, and he is with High Mountain Sage. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Good to be here. Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah. So I did another live stream with another mental health specialist. And so this is May, and as many people probably know by my IG, is that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And since we are all stuck in our houses, some people are getting out, but I'm still kind of stuck in lockdown. I thought that it'd be an awesome opportunity to discuss, some more therapeutic type of ways of reacting to things. And Brian, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your practice.
First, I have to tell everybody the truth first. We're not really here for this. Really, we brought Brian in as a specialist. He's going to talk to Johnny and try to get him to stop killing everything with his bare hands. This is all about confronting Johnny and making him stop his serial killer ways.
Congratulations.
Okay, I'm disconnecting.
Oh no!
You can't run from your problems, Johnny.
I don't run from them; I run through them.
Yes, exactly. This is why we are.
He breaks them. We got Tyson on, and we got Jonathan on. Thanks for joining today. We have Beard Code. Thank you very much for coming. So, Brian, take it away. What you have a practice? You've been practicing for how many years?
So I'm actually at a community mental health center. So I'm not in private practice. I work with various people. Youngest was 4 years old. Oldest was like in their 70s. So I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to mental health. I've been working at this location for 3 years. I've been practicing as a mental health therapist for 3 years. And I've been in social work for basically the past decade. So I've had jobs at with Division of Child and Family Services, or like Child Protective Services. I've worked at a rehab for addictions. I've worked with aging population. So it's kind of very broad. Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell as far as the social work. So a decade, and been doing beard stuff, like making beard products with High Mountain Sage since 2017 on the side. So
that's not practitioner waiting for you to finish. That's him trying to read the screen right now.
Yeah. Trying to be like on top of the reading game because I'm behind.
Cool.
They're all like, "Hey, you missed me," and I'm like, "Hey, no, I didn't."
It was just Chris.
Yeah, okay. Chris, but I actually said you were first. I actually said it before.
Oh, yeah,
you did the rest. I did. Yeah. So thank you very much for coming on in. And I think that we definitely have some good questions today for you. We have kind of a good spectrum of individuals. And anybody who wants to kick it off first is welcome to ask any questions. I know that we talked about the fact that we had a little bit of parenting advice. What you've seen, it's giving us some parenting advice. I know that I personally have been dealing with some grief issues, so I'd love to hear your perspective on that. And anybody else who wants to join on in, definitely ask any questions you want. I would love that. Joe, do you have any questions? I know that we kind of talked about maybe some thoughts that you had or some questions you had.
Yeah, well, if you've been following the chronicles of the Bearded Dad that I do, you know that me and Sam have had less than an easy road in life. And one of the things was early on through our journey, Sam's mom actually wound up in jail, and the way I played it out was I basically lied to my child for a full year and didn't tell her the truth about what was going on. And then when the time came and she did find out, she actually kind of held that against me And to this day, I'm not sure if I did the right thing or not, because the way I looked at it was I didn't want my daughter's opinion of her mother to change. I didn't want her to look at her mother like she was 5. You know, to them, jail, bad person. That's that. There's no gray areas in that situation for a 5-year-old.
Sure. So how old is she now?
She's now 12.
Okay, so 7 years ago, kind of held it from her, and now you're just kind of wondering if that was the best decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not just for, I mean, I'm sure there are other parents out there who have had to deal with this, and just curious if we know if there is a right way to deal with it, or if it's just more of a case-by-case situation kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think this is such a cliche therapist answer, but I think it really depends. Every single situation is going to be different, and when you're talking about a child being separated from a parent, that's going to be really, really difficult for the child. And yeah, age comes into play a lot. At 5 years old, they're not going to totally understand what's going on, but if we withhold the truth and they come to find out later, that is going to cause some problems, right? So my recommendation would always be share what is going on and try to keep it at the level of their age, right? So a 5-year-old and a parent goes to jail, you'd be like, hey, some things happened. Mom got into a little bit of trouble, and she went to jail, and she's still your mom. It's still okay to love her. It's still okay to be in contact with her. Things are going to be different though, and I'm here for you. And that maybe would be one approach, right? And honestly, there's not going to be a right or wrong way. It's just, what are the trade-offs? What are the pros and cons of each approach you take?
Yeah, see, the way I looked at it was like, I told her that her mom wasn't doing great and she had to go get some help. Now, that wasn't really a huge lie, in my opinion, because at the time she was in a bad place and jail was the best thing that could have happened to her, honestly. But after talking with her mother didn't really want her to know where she was at first either. And then like 8 months in, she calls me and she's like, I want to see my daughter. Will you bring her here? And I'm like, well, I didn't even tell her where you were though. So now
Right.
After all this time, I got to tell her what's going on and that I've been lying to her. And it just, I don't know. It just bothers me to this day that I lied to my daughter for 8 months. I don't lie to my daughter. Even when I should, I don't.
Well, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, right? So you look at that and you say, well, I could have or should have done this or that, but what happened has happened. So currently you're dealing with your daughter being upset with you and blaming you, and how do you focus on that? We could go back in time. There's a million things I'd change in my life, right? Different things I'd do or say. So focusing on what's happening right now with your daughter, what's happening right now between her and her mother, that's, and I think that's where you want to focus. Thinking about the past is going to be, well, it's going to cause some other challenges that maybe you don't need to worry about, because what's done is done.
I don't want to disagree with you, sir, but if I focus on her mother now, I'm going to jail. So why don't we leave it in the past? We'll leave her mom in the past. But
okay. Well, so then you focus on, your daughter. If she is upset with you, what can you do about that right now?
She's never really gone too far about it, but there have been times where if I say something like, does daddy lie to you? And she'll just look at me like, I don't know. Do you? And I'm like, really? You were 5. Can we move on from this eventually? But she's still, I mean, to this day, she'll give me that look like, well, you did lie to me once. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, losing trust is tough. And for her at 5, I guess for her, it was a lot bigger than you realized. So how do you gain that trust now? Obviously you're trying to, you're keeping your word, you're working with her, you're talking to her. If there's something like this that ever come up again, I'm sure your approach would be to allow her to know the truth as
I'm
much as
spilling the beans the
possible.
second I'm showing her the article clippings. I ain't never lying to her again. Like I'm telling her the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and that's that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, in any situation, any relationship, right, that's probably the best bet. Then you don't have to backpedal or try to apologize if something later down the road comes up. But at the same time, it's always different in the moment whether or not you're making the best decision. And if you're trying to protect someone, your intentions are really good. And perhaps that's a talking point. What were my intentions? You sit down with your daughter and say, hey, this happened because I love you and I care about you. And I didn't want you to feel hurt. I didn't want you to feel abandoned. I just wanted you to be a happy girl. 5 years old, you shouldn't have to deal with these adult things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, that's awesome. So what about people that I know that there's quite the where they share too much information, parents that just talk too much on things like that, where they've overshared with a child.
Right.
There's that situation too that I know I've run into several times where they've told them way too much and that kid is just almost devastated from that perspective.
True. That is why parenting is not easy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you never know when you're going wrong or not. You don't see that emotional damage until later.
Yeah, no. There's no handbook for parents, unfortunately. I mean, we try to talk to our elders and such like that, and hey, what would you do? And that's the most horrifying part of it, is that's when you find out how terrible your parents were at this too, and you're like, it's no wonder I suck. Look what my teachers were. This is pretty bad.
There's handbooks out there. You can go to therapy to learn how to do, improve your interactions with your children and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, because humans are so diverse and different, and what works with one person won't work and falls flat with the other. Like it really is just trial and error. And so like balancing that and really knowing. Again, it's the intention. If you're mindful about it, you're deliberate in your approach. You sit down and think, okay, how can I approach this? Not overshare, but not undershare. Like, I think that's your best bet. There's just no way of predicting the future, and that's anxiety coming into play too. If we're like, oh no, what's going to happen, right? Like, and that's a we could go into that too, anxiety and parenting. That's a whole new breed.
Oh yeah.
But
I thought that was like the normal part of the game. I thought anxiety just came with the job.
Well, of course. Yeah, if you're not feeling a little bit anxious, there's probably something else going on that's wrong. But I think oversharing, it really would depend on the topic, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I know some people. I'm not going to say I'm speaking generalities, but I'll say that actually I'll talk from my perspective. When I was raising my girls, I had a mom that would overshare stuff that was going on in her personal life that the girls were too young to understand. It's in my perspective. And then it turned into where it bitter because the girls just were messed up. They didn't understand that they didn't have a perspective on it. It was too young to understand what was really going on. And they just, they kind of messed them up in some ways because they thought there was something really, really wrong.
Are we talking like, topic wise, right? We're sharing like sexually stuff. We're talking about.
I think that it was more about what was going on between mom and dad. So we were divorced at this time, and then her almost poisoning the well, by, oh, your dad did this, your dad did that. And it became really, it was a vindictive act. To get back at me in some ways. and it was a really difficult situation. Now my girls are grown up, and they're all out of the house, and they're over 20 now. But at the time, I know that it was extremely difficult, and it's still to this day. I mean, there's still some difficulties there because there was always things that were overshared about what was going on, things that she didn't agree with something that I was doing. So she would tell the girls.
Yeah.
Very destructive.
Yeah.
And that is unfortunately like so common, right? That, especially when we're talking about divorce, even if people are splitting up and saying, hey, we're going to work on co-parenting. We're going to be friends through this, and we're going to, be there for our kid, make this work for them. Even if we can't make it work for us, we can make it work for them, just in separate housing, right? I mean, the baggage there, if they're putting that on the kid, that is definitely not okay. So the children love both parents. Even if one parent has been a complete asshole, right? They're gonna love that parent regardless.
Yeah.
It's just how it is, and to try and pit the kid against, one parent, even if it's not intentional, it's like just offhand, and you're just kind of venting. Your kids aren't the right avenue to do that. You don't vent to your kids about the other parent. That's never okay. And they're going to feel split. They're going to feel torn. They're like, well, like mom said this or dad said that, right? And they're going to feel like they have to have an alliance with one or the other. And when they're with mom, they'll have to act like, well, yeah, you're right, mom. Like dad is a jerk. And then when they're dad, it's going to be the opposite. And it's just, like that's a tough situation for the child. And so the oversharing in that regard, yeah, not okay. Not okay.
Yeah, it was a very difficult situation, and I think sometimes we can all run into that. What's going on?
You got a bat there, Jim?
There's like a small earthquake going on in my house. What the hell are they doing?
You're upstairs.
Hey, I'm trying to do a live in here.
He's upstairs. I mean, he's up a very long flight of stairs, but he's upstairs.
It's not that long of a flight of stairs, Johnny, okay? 14 stairs. We counted it.
Times 5.
I mean, that's 8 feet, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, what, 6 inches per foot?
Johnny has this running thing where I've got basically a mini winding staircase in my house that leads to another staircase.
Goes forever.
And another staircase, and that leads you to a squeaky door that Johnny hates. So,
what was that one artist that made the stairs that just keep? If you look at it, it has that weird where they just go on forever. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I can't recall the name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's actually a
my
staircase.
Expensive
like
knowledge doesn't go to the art world, so I have no idea what we're talking about.
That's okay. That's okay. You got good extensive information about beards and beard products, and that's awesome.
I think practitioner just called me dumb unless we're talking about beard stuff, basically.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. So that is really interesting, and I think that that was the thing that I really worked at as a parent, was trying to get counseling. Now I went to some of when the girls were 14 or 15, I had to take full sole custody, and that's been probably the toughest situation that we had. I mean, there was some other tough situations. We had to deal with some very big issues with my youngest daughter. And we've been in and out. That's the reason why I know therapy so well, to be honest with you, is I was in and out of institutions with her for a while. We were in residential treatment centers, or she was, for 2 years almost, in and out of. Yeah, she was that 15-year-old kid that was the runaway, wanted to hang out with her boyfriend. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that some of the stuff that happened to her in her past had finally gotten to like that 15-year-old stage, which is where it all just like comes out. And I think that actually Joe is almost at that verge where
I'm not at any verge. She's fine.
She's fine.
She's fine. Okay. Listen, you're actually touching on something that worries me quite a bit, because as much as I do for my child, and I do all that I can. I'm with her as much as I can be. The reality is that a girl her age, she's getting to that age where the mom is supposed to be more involved, and instead she's less involved than she's ever been, really. I mean, she sees her mom once every 3 months, if that, at this point, So, and I don't want to blame it solely on her, but at the same point, Sam's 12. So who am I going to blame it on? Like, I can't sit here and be like, well, your 12-year-old doesn't want to go hang out with you. You need to get over here and come see your daughter. I don't know what else to tell you. So it does worry me that as Sam gets older, that she's kind of pushing down some of those feelings, because I know she's at the age now, she can tell. She's not dumb. We go to things. I'm the only dad there, like she goes to mom and daughter event and she's got her dad with her. Like, she's not dumb. So I do worry about some of those repressed things or things that she's held inside coming out one day. And then I'm dealing with the Antichrist because of my ex-wife, who is the devil. So, I mean, it's a bad situation, but we're not there. Sam's fine. We're good.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're doing everything you can. I mean, going to all those activities with her, man. There's lots of I think fathers out there that wouldn't do that even if the mom wasn't in the picture, right? They wouldn't feel comfortable with that. So you're going above and beyond, I think, what other fathers would do, and having those conversations with her, like bringing it up. You could even just do it offhand, like, hey, you're getting to that age. You're growing up. Like, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here for you. Let's, break down those walls so that she feels comfortable coming to you, since obviously mom's not going to be able to or not willing to.
Yeah, Mother's Day tea time was an interesting one.
I bet.
That was interesting. Yeah.
Like tea time or tea time?
No, like tea time, Johnny. Okay.
Yeah. So, going back a little bit to what you were saying about the oversharing, right?
Yes, child.
Obviously, there's going to be a difference where sharing something that's more adult related with a kid. Just
why does it feel like there's an earthquake in our house? Grandma and Mason. Okay. Can I have a hug, please? Thank you very much.
But if you're feeling,
Can you go to Surma?
Yes.
man, this is an interesting talk about. So in a situation where a kid is kind of thrust into a situation where, like Joe, your daughter, where mom's gone, that's going to be a little bit different, right? Like, you might have to have a little bit more of an open conversation about what's going on there versus just choosing to talk about something adult related, maybe left aside. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. You know what? It's funny. I keep putting this stuff off. I do. I'm guilty of it because it is an awkward conversation. She's getting older, and I know that as women get older, certain things start happening. And I know this is going to start happening to my daughter, but I keep kind of waiting, going, this is supposed to be her mom's area. This is supposed to be the things that she's doing. And I'll say to her, I'll be like, hey, Sam, mommy talked to you about, like anything recently? And she'll be like, no, she showed me a stuffed animal she might buy me next week. I'm like, stuffed animal? You're 12 now. Like, what? Yes,
Yeah.
Sam.
There she is.
Guys, put the hair down on the floor.
Sam.
She almost fell.
Guys, put it on the floor.
Why'd I put one on the floor?
The hair dryer.
I didn't put it on the floor.
Who touched it? The ghost?
No, the gnomes did it, okay?
The ghost.
It was the ghost. It doesn't want you in my room all the time anymore.
Yeah.
Are you done now?
No, I put my socks.
That's a nice comb there, Tevin.
What are you doing?
What was that?
You're holding up the live.
Yeah, it's a good comb.
No, I'm not. You can
Yeah.
Very, very sturdy.
Right.
Very strong.
I 100% know that you
Which
can snap it.
which one is that one?
Oxhorn.
Oh, that's the one Johnny couldn't break.
I broke it eventually.
He broke it after he wore it down a bit. That listen to me.
It took a lot.
That's got to be like the best comb on the market because Johnny
took a
couldn't
lot
break
of-
it in one try.
I was trying to break that every day. Like every day, I
Like,
grab
yeah.
it off. You know, when I came downstairs to do my stuff, I was like, break this fucking.
Like
comb.
Johnny keeps saying he's coming by when all this stuff calms down. He's going to come by here. I'm hiding my combs when he does because I'm not going to let him start sitting there like, hey, how good is this one? Snap. How good is this one? Snap. No, he ain't going near my damn combs.
Well, we tested it for like if it's in your back pocket and you sit on it, is it going to break? Is that what you're testing there? Or
Oh no, I grab it and I snap it.
okay,
Yeah, so you know,
He is
so far,
Thanos. Like you know how like Thanos was
Just for
Thanos
kicks,
to Marvel superheroes. Well, he's Thanos to the beard combs of the world.
I don't know.
cool. I'm gonna have to watch more of your videos, I guess.
Oh no, I don't do them on my videos. I just do them on the lives.
Okay.
Yeah, on the live.
He isn't a
Oh,
he's in beard
John,
therapy.
we didn't think of it. We should have like had you on the auction, right? And we should have put it up. How many combs do you want Johnny to break for how much money? Dude, we'd have raised a friggin' fortune.
Who's buying these combs? Like these combs ain't
I
cheap,
don't
they're
know.
free.
We'd have figured it out. I got about 13 here. Like, come on now. I get a free one with almost every other order at this point.
You get free combs?
Yeah, Liv Bearded sent me
Right.
one.
I like Chris's comment.
Not one company has ever sent me a free comb.
Last comment.
Liv Bearded
got-
sent me one.
They never sent me a free comb.
As soon as my company has combs, I'll send them. You don't have any.
Johnny's
Sorry.
just going to get a
Buy
random
all my
comb in the
combs.
mail and he's going to be like, there, Johnny, you got a free comb from someone.
Oh, that's not true. You know what? Bam has sent me a comb. Whoa! Oh,
What was
Jesus.
Chris's comment? I couldn't see it.
Bam sent me a comb. He sent me this comb.
That's
He
a
wanted,
nice
he wanted me to
Okay.
break it, but he broke it. So when he sent it to me, it was already broken. So what I did was I got some wood glue and I mended it, and now it's pretty sturdy now.
But
I won't-
Johnny
I
bring
won't
his
break
famous soaps. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Correct.
for my soaps.
Yeah, Johnny's supposed to bring me some soap because if he mails them to any besides Barbado Joe, that I will allow. But if anyone else gets those soaps before I do, me and Johnny are going to have an issue.
I don't know.
Nobody has them. Nobody has these soaps yet.
Exactly.
Do you
That's the
sell
point.
soap? Do you sell soap, Brian?
Yeah, actually, we just came out with a beard soap. So I brew the beer that goes into it. It's kind of fun. So
You brew your own beer too?
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but I do it.
That comes
You
with
know?
practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah,
That's right.
So
Many times I would burn my face off and burn the skin off my hands with the lye water mixture that I always kept getting wrong every time to make the soap. Yeah,
That's why I haven't tried making soap yet because the stuff that you have to use to make soap can cause a lot of damage if you don't do it right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be the first to admit that we do not actually do the soap making process. So we make the beer, and then we have some friends that we give our beer to, and they'll finish up the soap because I don't know how to make the soap. I eventually want to learn how to do that, but life's busy sometimes. So
yeah. It takes a long. Like it took me. It takes me like a good hour and a half to make a good solid correct batch. Before on the way to that correct batch, there's always like some mistake I did, or I didn't do it right, or I didn't put this, or I didn't get it up to the right temperature, and it's a pain in the ass. But yeah.
yeah.
So I have
eventually,
I
Sorry,
have a
go
mental
ahead.
health topic I want to bring up real quick about one
Sure.
of our members here on the panel. What would you say to someone who just doesn't show any anger at all? Like at all, ever, never.
Yeah, one day, and then one day that pop's gonna top,
like they're
and
suppressing
it's
it.
gonna be a volcano.
Like his angriest moments are him going,
Oh, you're talking about
"Oh
Andy.
no,
Like Mount St. Helens,
no. Oh darn, Right?
Well,
We're all
yeah,
curious what it would be like. Like, we all want to know what's going to happen when practitioner really loses it about something. Like, I've had him call me upset. I've seen that. He's like, and I just don't like it. I just don't like that stuff. Gosh darn it,
Yeah.
it's just not a nice thing to do. Like, I want to know though if he's just holding that back, and we're all just waiting to see the Hulk emerge eventually.
I think he just has like really good control. You know, like he's just there.
So, like,
or
like
So
he's
I
Bruce
used-
Banner later in the
Right.
comics right now.
So let me tell you, I was young, especially young in my 20s. I definitely had a lot of anger issues. And it's not that I don't get angry, because things arise for me that are frustrating. However, I know how to respond in a little different way. I kind of I see myself going on the train for anger, and I find myself another way of coping out of that. And that's actually a good segue to coping skills. What are, and a good therapist will teach you, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. Yeah, just my opinion.
Now you just threw him on the spot. Way to go!
I know.
Now
My
you just threw him on the spot.
My opinion of therapy is they give you some tools, you work on it, and then you get out. You know, they've given you some things that you didn't know, more tools for the tool chest, because instead of banging the hammer on a screw, they'll give you a screwdriver to help deal with things. And I used to think that you go to therapist and you just go and just talk about your problems and somehow magically, but I don't think that, in my opinion, that really, you can talk about your problems all you want, but without real tools in the tool chest to be able to cope with them. And it's just like what you were saying, we could deal with the past forever because there's all sorts of past things, but dealing with coping skills now and getting tools to deal with what's going on now is a good way of being able to deal with your problems. And I just now have a few more tools in my tool chest. I use meditation. I daily meditate. And, you know, people say, I still have those moments where somebody said something I didn't like, and I talk about it, but I just don't scream about it.
Yeah. So you found some healthy outlets to deal with some of
Yeah.
that frustration, that anger.
What is going on?
Right.
Does anybody else hear that?
Got kids.
Yeah, those kids of some
Yeah,
sort.
kids. They got mine
Tevin,
asleep
right?
right now.
Tevin, right?
Yeah, if mine weren't asleep right now, you hear them too. You would hear like boom, 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 and then
Are they playing Tarzan or something?
Pretty impressive.
he's doing what?
So
Yeah.
I love little kids.
I
I miss little kids. So what are some good coping parenting skills? That's a thought that I
For
had.
the parent?
For the parent, when they're in the middle of, you know, some chaos going on, they're looking for
This just happened to me.
this kid. Yeah, the kid is just
happened to me.
driving you bananas in
God.
some way.
This is literally.
Hey, you know what? If it's under, if you're not drunk around your kid, and well, okay, back up. If your kid's like an infant and you're drunk and you're trying to take care of them and they're like freaking out, that might not be a good combo.
Oh no!
But they're, you know, they're asleep or whatever, and you're not like an alcoholic or anything like that. You know, got it under control. You know, everything in balance. No, but it's going to depend on the age of the kid and what the situation is. Obviously, you got those go-tos of like walking away from the situation if you need to. If you're in a situation where the kid follows you, though, that's going to be tough, right? If they want something from you, it's like, leave me alone. So, man, you've got to do your deep breathing. I mean, that's got to be number one, right? If you can control your actual physical reactions, right? Because when you're anxious or angry, like your blood starts pumping, your heart rate is going up, you start to sweat a little bit, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to control what you're going to say or do, right? In that mental aspect, if your physical body is ramping up. So you've got to take care of the physical part. And that's why any therapist is going to say, you know, let's do some breathing exercises. You know, let's breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 6, right? So that, as cliche as that is, like you've got to attend to the physical aspect first. What is your body doing? Pay attention to that. Other coping skills.
So punching the walls isn't a good one.
No, Joe. I could tell you
A
that.
punching bag, not a bad one. You know, punching the pillow, something like that. If you need to get that frustration out.
I've had a habit since I was 14. I used to hit the lockers in school. Now I just anything that's near me, really, doors, walls,
Beard oil?
anybody. What? Why would I do that?
I would be impressed.
Why would I? What are you talking about?
Johnny
That's beard
smashes
oil
combs. You
abuse.
should smash beard oils.
No, Johnny breaks combs because Johnny doesn't like said comb. The one time he broke a comb he did like, he was heartbroken for like 2 days.
Yeah. Well, punching people.
So the 4-6 method is kind of also a yoga thing where you're and
What?
and somebody told me this whole thing where you're
Oh, like the
breathing
3
in
seashells?
4. Yeah, so there was like a 4, you breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 6, and there's something to do with yoga and the way that it helps calm the nerves in some way because you're breathing out longer than you do breathe in. And I can't remember what the reasoning was, but do you know the reasoning behind why that is? I don't understand. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for breathing out longer than the inhale. Is that what you're asking?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. I've actually. Oh man, yes, that was a really good question. I'm trying to go through the archives here in my mind as to what.
The poor man has to deal with this stuff all day long, and now you're making him sit here in his free time and go through the
All right.
archives. Like,
So the longer exhale. Yeah, I think it's. I don't think I got an answer for you right off the top of my head. I
That's
apologize.
okay. We can research it. No,
Yeah,
because I do a 5. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Keep talking while I write it down.
I do a 5, 6, 7 before I go to sleep. So I'll breathe in for 5, hold for 6, and then breathe out for 7. And I also had another DBT therapist with my daughter who did the 4x4.
wait, I'm
Where
sorry.
it's
Explain this to me again. Explain the process to me one more time.
so you breathe in.
'Cause I've
for
actually
5
never heard of it before.
Yeah, so there's you breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 6, and then breathe out for 7.
And this is supposed to help, like, calm you.
It definitely does. And I
Okay.
don't know why it does. And I do it 4 times and I will go to sleep. I do that and because I really have a hard time sleeping. I don't know what I hit my 40s and I started having issues with sleeping at night. And if I do that, it just calms me down. And I'm I'm an avid meditator. So this, for some reason, that breathing combo really does. And I picked it off of like a YouTube. And I thought it was, I actually picked it off because I did the 4x4, which is, I don't know if you know what that is. I got that off.
Box breathing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Where you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, and then sit with empty lungs for 4 seconds.
Right.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. And then also at the last 4 is like a mantra resuscitation of some sort, or like a aspirational thing, like something that is, I am a good parent, or something like that is an affirmation for yourself.
Positive affirmation, sure.
Yeah, that it just kind of it does seem to, it's in that same breathing pattern where you're and I think that what I'm going to with this is that how important breathing is to calm yourself and take yourself out of that moment, which is what you're talking about when you're especially in front of kids, because you have nowhere to escape. You can't escape it.
What if you're in a moment where breathing exercises just doesn't work? It sends you in a panic. What do you do?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
panic attack. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that kind of a situation, I mean, if you're in a panic attack, there are some things that you can do. Obviously, you need to practice this beforehand, where you are like saying, if I'm ever in a panic situation, this is what I'm going to do, and you sit down and actually practice it like you would an instrument or like a sport, right? Like panic attacks going, like that's the ball game, right? Like that's where it's really, it's going to put your skills to the test. So if you spend like 5 minutes every day doing a deep breathing exercise, right, and practicing calming yourself, when the game comes up and your kids are following you around, you're really anxious, you're really mad, it'll actually be a little bit easier. That'll be the first thing that comes to your mind because you're in the habit of doing it, right? Out of sight, out of mind. So put it in sight. Deliberately choose to practice your breathing when you don't need to, when you're calm. Does that make sense? I mean, that's how any sport is done, right? You practice beforehand, so when you get there, you're good to go, and it's like automatic.
Yeah,
that helps.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Just out of personal experience again. When dealing with anxiety, like, and I mean, like, apparently, this wasn't my own, it was my wife actually, and this is where her road kind of started. She had extreme anxiety to the point where she claimed, like, just sitting in a room alone, it would feel like the walls were closing in on her and she couldn't breathe. So she started going to a doctor who started just writing her Xanax like they were candy, basically. When dealing with a situation like that, at what point should you seek the kind of help where you'd be getting medication and things like that? Or again, is that more of a case by case kind of thing?
Well, you know, the medication, like if your anxiety is that bad, like it ought to be like in tandem, right? Like you're maybe getting the medication along with the therapy. Like
she wasn't getting any therapy. This was a regular physician, just a regular family doctor who was prescribing this for her.
Yeah, I mean that's you're maybe helping with the symptom, but you're not getting to the root cause, right? And so it's just gonna keep happening. And with any kind of medication like Xanax, I mean your tolerance is going to build up, and you're going to need more eventually because your body's just used to it, right? And that's how addictions start. You know, it's not like someone wants to be addicted; they just want to deal with the shitty things happening in their life, and they want something that's going to work quickly. And medications are beneficial; they can absolutely help, but they're never going to fix the root cause.
Yeah.
And now the other thing I've always wondered was the way her script was written. I've been told by some that it didn't sound right. I've been told by others that no, it was fine. I was just always curious if she was I don't know, how do you call this?
Misdiagnosed?
Misdiagnosed or even mismedicated, whatever you want to call it. Her Xanax was prescribed to take 1 to 2 pills every 4 to 6 hours, period. Not like as needed, not in the case of an anxiety attack or something like that. It was just every day taking, 4 to 8 of these pills pretty much.
Oh, yeah. I had a medicine like that. I had a medication that they wanted me to do that. So I took it. I took the one. I actually still have it. I got to dump it. I took it once and it was like my wife recorded me. She was like, I was just like slumped over and I passed out. But like I was with my eyes open and stuff. Like it was really bizarre. And I never took it again. But then they switched me to another medication that's in the Xanax family called lorazepam. And the doctor was like, when you need it only. And that was it. And I still have the original prescription. It was like that.
What Johnny's talking about, that was my ex for the better part of almost 2 years.
Yeah, she was like a zombie.
Yeah, she became like a zombie. She would lose weeks. I mean, not days, not hours, weeks where she would not know what happened, have no recollection of it. And all she was doing was taking the medication the way it was prescribed to her to take.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah. Now I'm not able to prescribe medications. That's not in my licensure or training or anything like that. But we have licensed like APRNs where I work that work exclusively with prescribing mental health medications. And I'll tell you right now that when they're prescribing something like Xanax, they're keeping it typically low dose and as needed.
Yeah.
There's maybe a few people that might have it prescribed for more like take it once daily, something like that. But yeah, if they know that the client that they're prescribing for is like high and out of it after taking it, then they're gonna adjust it and lower it.
Yeah, okay. See, that's what I always wondered, how when she would walk into this office for a checkup again, basically the only reason she went there really was to get another prescription, and she's hunched over in the waiting room falling asleep, basically, how he just kept writing more medicine for her. And again, this is what really started her down that dark road, because one day she showed up and he was like, oh yeah, I can't write prescriptions anymore for whatever reason. I'm sure he got in trouble or something.
Oh my God.
And then now she didn't have that, so she went to go look for anything at that point.
Jeez.
Yeah, and sad to say, like that's a story for a lot of people. I mean, most addictions start out innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're talking about like prescription addictions, right? I mean, that's for legitimate stuff too. It's, people aren't going to the doc wanting a medication so that they. I mean, maybe some, right? Some will want to go and get high, but if they haven't had an addiction problem before and they're living life the best that they can, right? And life's not easy, anyways, right? But if it gets to the point where they're thinking medication is necessary, they go in there with the best intention. And it can go south pretty quickly when we're talking about those stronger meds,
Right?
Narcotics.
That's a good segue to go into my story.
My dogs. Sorry, I got squirrel. Sorry. Hey, shh.
He just wants his chance on the reviewer's table. He's just saying, like, hey,
It's my turn.
I want my 5 minutes of fame. Like, give it up.
Yeah. Hey, give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Crack, you okay over there?
Oh yeah, I'm just looking. I'm on call, so I'm trying to make sure that everything's handled before I. Yeah, so for work, I have Thursdays is my now turned into on calls is like my second week of it, and so I really don't know what I'm doing yet. So I just like try to follow emails and look at things and follow strings, email strings, and try to figure out what I need to do tonight. So
I preserved a little bit of my sanity today. The store had yogurt again.
Yay!
And Pepsi. They had yogurt. They had Pepsi. Little things in life. I'm happy. I'm good.
What about toilet paper?
We've had toilet paper, dude. We've never had the issue here.
We're running it.
We had a baby wipe issue, but we never had a toilet paper issue.
Oh, that's interesting. So, Johnny, you were saying that you had
when it comes to me and my personal issues, I didn't know that I had adult ADHD and anxiety disorders and all this other stuff that I got diagnosed with. So my wife, who's a nurse, she kind of like picked up on it. We've been together for a couple of years. She's like, you know what, you look like you have ADHD. It's like the way you move around, the way you just like jump from thing to thing and everything. She goes, everything you're doing is like textbook ADHD. She goes, I want you to see a doctor. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I trust her because she's the medical professional, right? So,
Sure.
So I go to see this doctor and I do the interview with her, and she's like, "Yeah, you have ADHD and you have 2 different types of anxiety disorders and depression and all the other stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess, like whatever." I've always just like massively.
I mean, if you say so, I guess.
I've literally just massively struggled with every issue that I would come across an obstacle, a bridge, and I would like just do whatever it took to get over that, and that's how I just kept living life, and with no help or anything like that. So apparently, my parents knew. Their parents know that I have all these issues. They just never told me. So they were like, so when I was like, so when I told my mom, I was like, I saw a doctor, and the doctor's like, I have anxiety disorders. There's 2 different types. It's situational and general. And like they're telling me I have like, massive depression and there's all this other stuff. And that's why I'm so emotional. And I have this ADHD thing. And my mom's like, yeah, we know that. And I was like, do tell.
Remember what we were talking about earlier about talking to your kids, right?
Yeah, Johnny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my mom was like, oh yeah, we always known you had that. That's why you were really bad at school, and that's why. I said, so you known all that, and you guys still gave me the beatings you gave me when I was little. If you knew I would had an issue and I was sick,
Dude,
So
Johnny, wait a minute. Time out, sir.
That opened up a whole new thing, of
Time out,
I
Johnny.
started going to regular therapy.
How old are you?
Right now, I am 36.
Okay, so you grew up in the same generation I did, and therefore you know that our parents thought that, oh, he doesn't pay attention in class. I'll take that out of him real quick.
Yeah, that was my dad.
Oh, he's not listening? I'll take that.
Exactly.
That was the solution. That's not their fault. That was just a product of the times, dude.
My therapist was like, "That's not." She was like, "Your parents were bad parents. They knew you had issues, and they still punished you as harshly as they did, instead of trying to work with, ways to help you. They didn't help you. They just were very corporal and punished you and all this other stuff." So I went to see an actual therapist, because the person that was prescribing medication, she was just a nurse practitioner that can prescribe psych medication. And so I was seeing two different people for care. And so, she gives me all the medication, everything. I'm on the whole, two different types of depressants, Adderall and lorazepam, which is like the anti-anxiety thing. That's when you have a massive panic attack. And the pill is 0.5 milligrams. You take that and it's like you instantly calm. So that and then seeing an actual real therapist, like an actual therapist, and going through day to day. And, and I totally forgot where I was going with all this shit. This happens to me a lot.
Come back to you.
And
ADHD in action, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. I lost train of thought completely, because I had to actually I'm actually off all the medication now. I'm off all of it, because my job was massively harassing me with drug testing. And if you take Adderall, that comes up on the drug test as methamphetamine. So because that's what it is, Adderall is methamphetamine. So I kept getting harassed at work, and so I just stopped taking it. And then the therapist was she was like, if you need, she said, if you need letters, we can get you letters. And I was like, I have letters, and they won't take the letters. So then they just kept on and on and on. So then I had to stop taking the medication. So I haven't taken it in forever.
Oh, man,
And I was in therapy and everything like that. And the therapist actually, she was teaching me how to identify and deal with each thing that was happening to me, as I would before we were talking about having anxiety as parents, being fearful for your kids and stuff like that. Mine was so bad that I was worried about a hawk coming in and swooping into the backyard and grabbing my baby and flying away with it. So that's the kind of that's the level I was at of how worried I was with everything. So it was very extreme. It was no so she taught me how to identify what is anxiety exactly and what's actually happening, and then deal with that like that. So that's where I am now.
Yeah. So, well,
it's not really a question, just
no, that's a good story. Well, thank you for sharing, because you're not the only one, right, experiencing that stuff. Yeah. I'm sure lots of people that are watching this right now have had depression, have had anxiety, ADHD, phobias, trauma. I mean, it's everywhere, mental health. I mean, we all know physical health, right? We all talk about physical health. Just because we don't talk about mental health doesn't mean that it's not affecting us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and
man.
I know it's weird being on the medication and not being on the medication anymore. I try to tell myself like, oh, you don't need it. You don't need it. You can get through. But I still feel like I would be better off on, some of the meds I was taking,
Sure.
And yeah.
Well, I think like I said earlier that it's in tandem, right? Therapy with medication can sometimes be your best friend. Can really help you make progress, because sometimes what's going on is that our mental health symptoms, right, of whatever it is that's going on, be it anxiety, depression, whatever, they can be so extreme that in order for us to be able to come to a point where we can focus enough to address it, we do need a medication to slow us down.
Yeah.
Right. It can get so intense. So if the situation that you're in with your work, and they're not really letting you take the medication, and they're not accepting letters. I mean, that's bizarre to me that the work would not be working with you on that. I maybe speak to HR or something like that, because
they basically I got the letter from the person who's prescribing medication that these are his, this is his diagnosis. This is how long I've been treating him. This is what he's been taking. And I gave that in, and the drug testing company was like, okay, we want to see it from, an actual doctor. So I was like, okay. So I told the lady who's prescribing the medication, she's like, I'm the person that does it. Like, there's no, what I'm saying? There's no way. So I said, okay. And then I went back to them, and they were like, okay, well, it'll be up to your job whether they want to keep you employed or not. And I was like, it was such a weird level of harassment. And the drug test company was calling me on my phone for documentation and all that. And my boss was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. I said, I've been on this medication for like 3 years now. Like, I don't understand what the issue is now. Like, why, I don't get it. Like,
yeah. But nor do I. Hearing you talk about it, like, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. And then, well, I'm not with that company anymore. Not because of this, just because of COVID. They lost a lot of government funding for so they just couldn't afford to renew my contract. So I'm out of as of June 30th, I'm out of a job. So I have to go find something else. So hopefully the next place I go to, I won't have these issues if I want to start it up again. I think I may. I don't know.
Yeah, well, pros and cons to that. If you do choose to start up again, it could allow you to focus on some other coping skills, right? Again, medications are there to support, not to be your main tool.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're doing the therapy thing, you're learning the coping skills, you're trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. And let's get real. Sometimes, right, our mental health struggles that we are going through, they might be there until the day we die. And that is something that maybe you work on accepting that, right? But you don't know unless you work at it to try to figure it out. And the medications, I think what you're describing, right, like ADHD, like that's something that's lifelong. That's not necessarily ever going to go away, right?
Yeah, no, it's not going to go away.
No, that's just is what it is. Anxiety can improve. It could get to the point where you don't need the medication anymore, right? You've got some good things in place where your coping skills are on point. You have a good routine, you have a good support system in place that you can talk to. And maybe there is a point where you don't need medications for that. But it sounds like if you are currently struggling, and this goes for anyone out there, not just you, Johnny, right?
Yeah.
If you find that with therapy, it is still very, very difficult and you don't have the quality of life that you want, then maybe it is time to look at the medications again.
Yeah, I'm considering it because, especially like when just being like what's not helping is this whole like quarantine thing. Even though they're starting to loosen up and all that stuff, but schools are not back opening it. And my work is not there, and so like, it just made it. I feel like it just exacerbated everything.
Yeah. Like mental health stuff right now. Right now, the COVID stuff. I mean, if you had any kind of mental health stuff before, it's times 10 right now.
Yeah.
Have you seen that a lot in the patients that have come? Have you seen an increased level of anxiety and depression, and maybe even anger issues coming out of since people have been in lockdown? And so, in my opinion, it's like the close quarters helps do a couple things. Like you're confined, but then also you're right in front of people that trigger you. Have you seen an increased case load? Or
what he's trying to say so nicely is most husbands and wives are close to killing each other on a daily basis as it is. Now that they're locked together 24/7, have you had anybody show up and say, "Doc, please, if you don't do something soon, I'm going to jail and my wife's going to go missing"?
Yeah. But,
good way of saying it, Joe. Right.
I personally haven't seen an increase on my caseload. I will tell you though that the ones that I'm working with, relapses, like if they're struggling with like an addiction, that has absolutely increased.
The addiction problems?
The relapsing. Yeah. Like for a while, this hit, and it's a brand new situation.
Yeah.
I mean, history of the world, there's been like pandemic stuff like that, but like in the modern world, like this is novel, This is new.
Man. It's 2020. We're over here in lockdown and quarantine, and like it's the 1920s and the flu pandemic.
Yeah, and so like people are finding that their coping skills that they had in place to help them, right? Like they worked for the situation before COVID, but here we are now, and it's a totally different ball game. So, the relapses are happening, and it's just an opportunity to say, okay, how do I adjust what I'm doing to make it work? And so, it's happening all over. Like mental health is depression's going up, anxiety is going up, relapses are going up. And it's normal given the situation.
Right.
Sucks, and it's normal.
It is. And I think that the one thing that I always lean on is finding some new tools. I don't know. I don't know. I know that there's a certain amount of tools that are out there. When should a person decide that they should go see a therapist? Based off of them saying, hey, I'm locked down. That's understandable. I'm in lockdown. I'm right in front of the person that wants to trigger me all the time. When do you decide to make a decision to go to a therapist?
Wow, that's a personal one. I think
when you make videos like that mom made the other day where she was yelling at Trump that he needs to send them money for weed dealers because they can't tolerate their family and kids on lockdown. Time to go see somebody.
Here's your sign.
Good assessment, Joe. No, I think you got to look at it comparing what was life like before. If we're talking just about like right now, like compared to COVID, if you should seek therapy right now, like obviously if you're having suicidal thoughts, absolutely, you need to see a therapist. Even if it's only once in a while, but like in general, you're feeling down, like, get in and see a therapist. Like that's absolutely important. If your quality of life, like maybe you track it for like a month or something like that, right? I know that's a different type of personality that's actually going to sit down and track it. But if you're noticing that your quality of life is not what it's like, you're feeling uncomfortable majority of the time, like more than half the days or even just half the days, like absolutely reach out to a therapist. Or if you're just not sure, right? And if you are lucky enough to have like the insurance, something like that, to be able to go see a therapist, right? Like maybe just go ahead and schedule it and talk to a therapist about it and be like, hey, I'm not sure if this would be beneficial or not. Or I'm not going to say that just because you're feeling depressed, 50% of the time means that a therapist is the best option. Like maybe it's adjusting what you're eating, maybe it's getting outside, getting some exercise. There's lots of things, but if you've gone through the motions of trying to address it yourself, you put in some good effort and it's still not working, that's probably a good sign, right?
Cool.
So do the work yourself for a little bit. And if you can't do it yourself, then yeah.
Good. So I want to switch topics a little bit because that's really good advice. So I have a future pastor in house, and his name is Tevin. And I run into this as a meditation teacher a lot. And I don't know if he's experienced this yet. I don't know what your experience is yet with Tevin with actually going out and teaching classes. I'm sure that you've done some maybe Sunday school classes and things like that.
Yep.
As an adult meditation teacher, people come to my classes as a... Go ahead.
Wait a minute. Tevin, you're a priest? A pastor?
I have surrendered to preach, yes. I don't pastor anywhere, but I have surrendered to preach, yes.
That makes me feel weird about the way I talk around you now.
Dude, listen, I'm around people on a daily basis.
Like, look at Johnny right now. Even Johnny.
No, my grandma was a pastor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so you're good? I was a knight. The priest would come in the room. I would just stop talking because I knew I was going to say something he didn't want to hear.
Do not change or try to leave out whatever you want to say because I'm used to that and I'm not perfect either. I slip up a lot of times. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
So don't try to be perfect around me and pretend to be somebody that you're not.
I just want to say this.
That. And
for all of you watching,
I know that.
For all of you watching, the reviewers table now, if you really look at this, we have a serial killer. We have a pastor. We have a man with breathtaking anger management issues who just doesn't let it all out in Andy. And then, we got me. So, yeah, this is entertainment, all right. We have all spectrums of the earth over here.
A serial killer? I don't get it.
So my thought is, and this is something I've run into as an adult meditation teacher, I will have people come into my class, and I know, Tevin, you're going to have this sometime in your life, and I'm sure that they take classes on this. But what do you say to somebody as they come in and they think that religion is a cure-all for their anxiety and issues that are going on? I think I do connect with spirituality. So I definitely feel that has enhanced my life in a lot of great ways. But I've had people come to my class and they said, well, I got off, I'm on spirituality now and I don't need to take my, bipolar medicine anymore. And, but you obviously would say, yeah, you need to be on, if somebody's prescribed you bipolar medicine, unless you've had some therapy behind it, spirituality really will not fix your problems. What's your suggestion for people that are coming in off the street and they still have they're looking to, and maybe this is their fix, is religion is going to fix them? And I have students come in all the time that somehow think that this is the magic fix for their life. Their life is going to be cured if they come to my meditation class. And when it doesn't work, they stop coming.
Is that a question for me or is that for...
Well, I think Tevin will see this, but what is your recommendation? And I've run into this so many times, and I don't know the answer sometimes to say to people that when they come in, should I say you should? I don't want to sound like you should probably go see a therapist, but there's like a point where I go, I think there's some professional help out there that might help you, because I think spirituality and therapy can combine. into a harmony, because spirituality is fixing some of the things about yourself. But I think that you also need to prescribe therapy, because that's also another way of being able to be more healthy and holistic.
Yeah, for someone that is, well, let me preface this by saying that I am agnostic, right? I'm not really sure there's a God. I'm not really saying that there's not a God. Like, so I'm gonna share that right away, so that there's some background to what I'm gonna say here, my opinion on this. Knowing that, especially in my understanding of Christianity, right, is that God gives people gifts for a reason, right? He does his work through his children on earth, right? That'd be my understanding from a Christian. And please jump in and be like, hey, like, you're dumb, you're wrong. That's my understanding, right? And from a Christian standpoint, like, God is going to give people gifts and want them to help each other, right? To be a good Samaritan, right? And there are some issues that God has given gifts or given callings to people to help. If you have depression, like, why not see a therapist? They have some skills, they have some knowledge, and maybe they seek someone with a religious background similar to theirs. That's in therapy. That's a therapist, something like that. But if they're just really adamant that God can cure this, God can take it away, like, okay, cool, like, go for it. Like, let's follow this out. If you are having that much faith that things will change, and you're actually putting in the actions, right? Like, faith without works is dead, right? So, like, you're putting in the work, the actions, as well as having faith, then maybe you find success, right? But if you're going into that and you're saying, no, God's going to take this this affliction away, but it's been years, or you're doing everything that you can, it's just not, I mean, that can break a person's faith, and then all of a sudden they lose that support system, and they stop believing in God because God didn't take that affliction, and then they're in an even worse situation. Their depression is going to go way higher, or their you guys are going to go way higher, because all of a sudden their belief in God is in question. And that can throw someone's world upside down if all of a sudden this stronghold belief is ransacked by not getting what they were expecting. Is this
right?
Yeah.
And so what? Right, and I think that, so another reason why I brought this up is because my son, who was very Christian. I don't know where he's at right now. So anybody following me knows that we just had a huge loss. My stepson, who is the one I'm talking about, lost. They had a stillborn. She went full term, and about 2 hours before it was born, the baby died. And his perspective was, God let me down. And that is always, religion is spirituality is everything to me. So that aspect of him losing that and that faith was extremely devastating. But then he didn't want to go into any therapy to help deal with this crisis, and thinking that he was just going to, his coping mechanism was, I'm just going to go make myself busy, which is a man way of dealing with their problems. I don't know how to approach it with him. And I think that, how do I approach something like that, where you're like, I know you need some therapy, and you have lost what you thought your spirituality. He's on, he was really strong in that. He would always, talk about the Bible, everything with us. And now he's just like, I don't believe in that stuff anymore. How would a loving God let that happen to me. Let my my newborn die. And I don't, it's a hard situation. Grief is very difficult. But when you throw that into it and you have it's your son, for me, it's my son. So I'm definitely really like, I have a lot of hugs. I have a lot of love for him, a lot of compassion and understanding, but I don't have the words to make him understand that you still, the spirituality thing is not letting you down. And how do you get somebody to go to therapy that doesn't want to go to therapy after somebody struggles into that? Do they have to find it themselves when they hit rock bottom? Or what is something that I could help that would help get him into that, back into his own spirituality, feeling like this is my core beliefs. And if you bash somebody's core beliefs, they don't have anything anymore, because that's what his core values are, that.
Yeah.
And now he's feeling like he's left out, he's lost. So he's just working, which is a typical male expression of, I don't want to, I just want to shove it aside.
It's definitely part of the grieving process, right? Is acting like everything is fine, and denial kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can lead a horse to water, but can't make it drink, right?
Right.
So all you really can do in that type of situation is just show your support and love. You could want them to go to therapy and know that it will help. Unless they're willing to, though, it could actually be more harmful than good. In a lot of ways, especially when we're talking about, not only is he grieving, the loss of his child right now, but also loss of faith, because there is a grief response when someone is questioning their faith and their belief in God. It's a very, very difficult thing, and I think that saying, "Hey, what you're going through, I can't imagine. I'm here for you if you want to talk about it, and if you don't want to talk about it, I respect that." And if you see him going down a destructive road, maybe it is like, I disagree with how you're doing this. I don't know if you're aware of what's going on, but like, I love you anyways. Like, that's the only thing you can do.
Right.
Because you share with them, like, this is your core value. What are you doing, right? They're going to be like, you don't know me. You don't know what's going on. You don't understand. You're like, it was the core value, but right now, I don't know what my core value is, because my God let me down. So, that's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah. It's been a difficult situation for sure. And I've had I definitely have that compassion and loving response. The moment that I saw him, when he came home because basically he had to deal with this with him and his girlfriend only, because because of COVID, you couldn't have anybody else around. So there wasn't mom, who's his big support system. There wasn't me around as a support system. So it's just been really difficult. And then you add the sense of loneliness and lockdown that that you don't feel a sense of that there's a lot of people around you supporting you, because you come home, you see the same people, you go out, maybe you see if you go to work, you see the same people, then you go back. And in his case, he's really young, doesn't really have a job right now. So he's just been kind of in his head, and you can tell him it's in his head. And I just haven't had the right, I don't know what to say to him. And I think what you said was, you have to let him come to you and just show him by example and keep loving him.
Yeah. Cause you can't, well, there's no point in reasoning with someone that, doesn't, in their current state of mind, doesn't want to reason. Like that is another stage of grief, right? Is the anger, right? Wanting to be angry and letting out that person, like, you gotta let them go through that. That's just a part of it. Again, we're dealing with a grief response, grieving, loss. And there's no amount of time, out there like, well, after 6 weeks, this will be done. No, like, especially when we're talking about two losses at once. Again, the loss of a child, which in and of itself is devastating. And then again, the loss of a belief system or questioning, So you express the love, you express the concern, you're there for him. Almost like if we're going biblical, it's like the prodigal son. You're there ready. Put the ring on the finger when he comes home.
Right. And that's what our response has been like, what do we do? Me and my wife are just like, I just, like we just sit and look at him and we talk at night between ourselves. And we're just like, I don't know what I made an appointment for him and he didn't decide to go to a therapy because I thought that I would just throw therapy at him. But I think you're absolutely right. It has to be him that has to see that this is something he wants. And then also not giving him, I think people shove their idea about how you're supposed to grieve at people.
Oh yeah.
Like you should be done, right? Yes. And that's what I caught myself when I was doing it, going, this is my expectations of something and it's not true. And it was extremely difficult. It was, I have the way that I deal with my grief. And I think sometimes that everybody should deal with it the same way. Right. And I don't know if it's even the right way, it's just a way to deal with grief. But it was definitely, it's definitely difficult when you're like, okay, how long is this supposed to happen? How long are you supposed to be in that space? How do you help somebody move on? And I think that this is really recent. So I get the 2 or 3 weeks is definitely not in that scope. But what do you do when it's like 6 months later, a year later, and they're still in that cycle of just being either in denial or angry or both?
Yeah. Well, so there's the average grieving response or normal grieving response where
I'm sorry.
They'll go through.
I'm sorry. 1 second. I'll be right back, guys. Okay. I'll be right back.
No worries.
I got to go do something real quick. I'm sorry. I'll be back.
No worries. Thanks. No worries, Joe.
I think, let's see, lost my train of thought. Help me. What were we?
So we were talking about what do you do at 6 months to they don't seem like they're moving on.
Yeah. So there's normal grief and then there's complicated grief. Complicated grief is when the grieving response of like that when it initially happens is continuing on despite a large time frame, right? So it's almost like it happened yesterday. Now it's going to be normal, of course, and to each person it's going to be different. But it's definitely going to be normal that you have those pangs of grief, that you feel it, you remember it, it does feel like it's yesterday, but that becomes fewer and fewer as time goes on, right? It happens less and less. Anniversaries, birthdays, going to certain locations, like those all bring up the memories, and that's when you're going to feel that grief response. But if someone suppresses the grief, they don't allow themselves to feel, right, like they do that avoidance that you were mentioning, right? That and as men, we really do that. We're pros at avoiding our feelings, right? Like, right. Unfortunately, it's kind of just what we are expected to do culturally, kind of, right? We have to be the one that sucks it up, and we're there for everyone else, and that can be tough. And so we suppress it. We act like we're fine, and then it comes out in other ways, either in anger, lashing out at other people, irritability, depression, substance use. Mm-hmm. And there's, 6 months down the road, if it's the person just isn't moving on, they're really, really struggling, the approach would be similar, right? You're still showing the love and the caring. However, you do have to let them choose to drink the water. Saying, hey, I know a therapist, I know this could help, or, why don't we go for a run together? Like absolutely, you continue to do that. You can offer it and let them know that you're there. Definitely don't force it, but they have to learn the hard way sometimes by experience,
Right.
which can be heartbreaking as a parent.
It is, and that's the part that you want for your kids, is that you want to protect them. And that's I think all of us here have kids, and that's the biggest challenge, especially with an adult child. It's not like when my daughters were little, I could guide them. I had to learn the very hard way that when my daughter got to 15, she's going to do what she wants to do. And I just have to help guide her, keep her within the buoys. And then, at 18, 19, they just want to go do their own thing. And a lot of times you just don't have the say, or you just have to just be supportive of wherever they're at in their journey. And knowing that sometimes it's their journey, not it. That's the biggest piece that I had to learn. It's not my journey.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not my journey. And that's extremely difficult as a parent to say, this isn't my journey, this is your journey. And I don't have the same experience as you to deal with this.
Yeah.
And
sorry, I
go ahead.
cut you off. I was just going to say, we put ourselves in that person's shoes and be like, if I was in this situation, like, and my parent was trying to talk to me, trying to get me to do something, I love my parents, but sometimes I just don't want them to be as involved as they're trying to be, which is just tough.
Yeah, it is. And do you know what has been, and somebody, Epic Beard, was talking about the fact that we've had a lot of people that have had similar situations that actually is almost therapeutic for us to hear these type of things. Thanks, Epic. I tell you that when you hear that it's 1 out of 100 births are stillborn, I didn't realize that number was that. I mean, it's 1%. That's a lot of that. And I didn't realize it. And then I've noticed that I've connected a lot of people in our lives have come out of the words. They don't talk about it much, actually, if all. But as soon as we had this issue, we were surrounded by people that have been through it, know somebody who's been through it, their mom's been through it. And it's been, to me, it's therapeutic, because those are people trying to support you, saying it's okay. Yes, it happens to all of us. And the other thing is, you see that they got through it. It doesn't mean that the memory doesn't go away. And it's like what you said, the anniversaries of these things come up, and you just have things that you can deal with better than you did before. Because, some of the anxiety, some of the depression is in the past now. And now you have some new perspective from new memories coming in. But I tell you that the people coming out that have come out and supported us are the people right now are the people that have these stories of, yeah, this happened to me too. You'll get through it. And I think that has been an outreach and outpour from the community that I've had. And I kind of share that with my son. That's my way of giving back to him also, is saying, you're not the only one. You're just not the only one. It's this difficult situation. Anybody would be depressed. And you're not the only one that's been down this road. It's not only you. And so, not that it makes it better, but it does seem to have more of a sense of, this is life. This is part of life. And it sucks. It's not easy. It's not something that can just be wished away. And, I love you. And that's the things that I'm all about love. Anybody asks me, I'm always telling people I love them, whether they want to hear it or not, whether they want to hear them or not.
That's how I handle my son when he has a meltdown. I see, because he has hard times transitioning from one thing to another, and you know, he has a hard time expressing himself in words. So, you know, he freaks out and he starts crying and curls up into a ball and all. It does all these other things. So, that's what I do. I grab him, scoop him up, hold him tight until he stops crying, and then he's okay again. That's why I feel like now they're at the age where like hugs heal everything. You know, like I said before this started, the damn ice cream truck came by down the street. You know, I don't have any cash on me. I haven't been in ATM like forever. You know,
When are they going to start doing friggin' cards and ice cream truck? Like, what the hell is this?
You know, and it's a Mr. Softy truck too. It's not like, you know, your little rinky dink thing. You know, and so I'm trying to convey to my daughter. I'm like, I don't have cash. I only have my card. They don't take cards. She's screaming to the top of her lungs, having a huge tantrum fit. And like, you know, you're trying to reason, you know, try to talk to her like an adult and like, reason with them. Like, look, you know, it just wasn't happening. So like, and like, I got super, super angry. I was like, I'm going to hang you upside down and put you in a pillowcase. Like, that was going around in my head, you know, like, shut her up, you know, like, so then, you know, when she was really freaking out, where she was like starting to hit me, freaking out, I just like picked her up, I gave her a hug, and that's it. I held her like this until she stopped, and then she was just like, I said, okay. I put her down, and then you know, we talked, and then she was okay.
Johnny, next time the ice cream truck comes down the block and you don't have money,
I want to shoot
grab the nearest comb, go up to him, and be like, snap!
No.
My daughter wants ice cream.
We'll throw a cinder block at that stupid megaphone that he has playing the music. They hear the song, you know, down the street. Like, ice cream truck.
Yeah, I know. My daughter can hear it like 3 blocks away. She'll be like, Dad, the ice cream truck. I'm like, Sam, number 1, you're 12. That's number 1, okay? Number 2, we've got 8 different kinds of ice cream in the freezer.
That's nothing. I have ice cream in the freezer too. Yeah.
I don't care.
I got ices. I got vanilla. I you know, cookies and cream. I got all those flavors.
Yeah.
You know, they all make them dairy free now, which is great.
We always
we can't have milk,
which is terrible. Why would you want ice cream that's dairy free?
It tastes good. All right, you got to try it.
No,
if you haven't tried it,
ice cream.
Have you tried it?
Dairy free ice cream. That's like
you tried
cream.
It.
That cream.
Have you tried it?
Cream is dairy.
There we go. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't.
All right, then shut the fuck up.
I haven't tried eating horse shit either, but I don't have to do it to know that it's not a good thing.
Listen, oat milk is delicious. Anyway, so, but she wanted the SpongeBob SquarePants ice cream pop with the bubble gum.
That good?
No, and that's what she wanted. Nothing else in the world mattered. It was that SpongeBob ice cream. It was like, you know. But yeah, you know, now they're at the age where hugs fix things. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to when they get older, when hugs don't fix things anymore.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I don't know. I give my son a lot of hugs. I give my daughter a lot of hugs still, and it still has a healing effect on them. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still, I mean, it definitely doesn't fix their broken romance, but it does show them that Dad's still there for them.
Yeah.
Oh, romance. I'm so not ready for romance in Sam's life. Listen, I'm like Martin Lawrence in Bad Boys 2. I'm just not the dad for that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be okay. Like, I'm going to be threatening kids at my front door. It's going to be all kinds of bad. So
it's going to be your Will Smith.
I mean, with that, you're saying it'll likely happen. What you think is what
like
you
my
get,
plan right now, though, is like if she gets a date or something, I'm just going to have like the 5 biggest, weirdest bearded guys that I know in the area. Johnny's one of them. Come and sit on my front porch when the kid comes to pick her up. And then I'm going to be like, these are her uncles. They're going to chaperone the date.
You know what?
What movie are you going to see?
What
movie are we going to see?
So now that Sammy Cakes has like a bearded community around her, I think that she's going to have a lot of dads that are just going to be like, and if I show up, then it's like the entire theater is just a bunch of bearded guys just hanging out looking at him. Intimidation. He will not make. There's nothing to worry about now. Bearded dudes are scary, buddy.
Oh, well, I mean, practitioner, you kind of break that stereotype, sir. I don't, you're like the non-scariest bearded dude on the planet. Like,
I figured you were gonna give me a hug, not anything else.
yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a truth to that.
He can give
But
you
you
a
know
hug
what's
and you can stop breathing. He can give you like that really tight hug where I can't breathe, and he'd be like, I know.
Watch though. Practitioner will be the one that like brings the kid in, like, no, it's fine. Come here. No, we all love you. And then as he hugs him, he's like, if you do anything to this child, I swear to God, I'm gonna rip your throat out and show it to your mother. Have a good night, though, guys. Great night. Dripping with positive vibes.
Why is
So
it
I
that
have.
the bearded guys have have that stereotype? I mean, Santa Claus has a beard. He's not scary. Picture
That's right.
like paintings of Jesus.
Time
he has
out.
a beard. Like what's
I
up?
want you to think about Santa Claus if he wasn't bringing presents. So some big guy in a red suit with a white beard wants to climb down my chimney at nighttime and sneak around my house. It's the gifts that make him not scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's
You
a
get some
pedophile
stuff.
vibe there, huh?
Well, he's so jolly.
He is jolly. He's a very jolly man.
We have our own
So
Santa Claus in the community.
We do. We have a jolly old fat man. He's a beard company, which I don't know if. So before I forget to plug High Mountain Sage, tell me a little bit about your company. I actually looked.
We've all
I
got our
looked at your-
boxes near us.
Yeah. So I looked at your.
Jolly old fat man is always in arm's reach for all of us.
Yeah. So
Hey.
I was looking at your website today. Very nice. It has that nice calming like yellow throughout it. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm an IT engineer, so when I look at websites, I analyze them. But my big thing is that what made you go into this business? I mean, you're helping people, and then you said, "Hey, I'd also like to sell beard products and create beard products." What kind of got you into that space?
Good question. So I've had a beard for the past decade. Not like this though. I started growing it out in 2016. I only shaved it off. So I shaved it twice in the last decade. Once because I accidentally nicked it, and I was like, I nicked like my mustache, and it looked awful. So I shaved the mustache, and I was like, hey, I asked my wife, I was like, does this look okay? She's like, nah, it doesn't look good. You need to shave it off. So I did. And really regretted that. I mean, the stash would have been back in, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Could have waited. Second time was actually in 2017. So I had some buddies while I was going to school 2016 to become a therapist, master's level social worker. And we in social work, there's a lot fewer guys, a lot more women in the field. And a lot of us guys kind of started talking, about beards and whatnot. And we started growing them out long, and that's what got me into beard products. It was 2016. It's like, gotta find something to manage it, keep it, looking good. And started trying all those classic ones, of course, Beard Brand. You got the Dollar Beard Club. You got Honest Amish, and those bigger name brand type stuff. And started using those. And I was like, I can make this stuff, and I'd have fun doing it, and maybe save some money. So I started to do that, and I just really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. Was sharing it. I had a friend of mine. He's actually attending tonight. John O'Huppy. He's with us.
Oh, cool. Yeah, saw that.
Yeah. He was like, why don't we sell it? Like, people are liking it. You enjoy it. It's fun. It's definitely therapeutic in lots of ways. You got to have outlets. You got to have hobbies. Mm-hmm. And so it started out as a hobby of just making my own stuff, and people liked it. It was like, why not? So we started going to farmers markets locally, and kind of stuck to farmers markets until they closed down due to COVID, right? And I know there's lots of companies that are kind of coming out of the woodworks recently because of that, right?
Yep, I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what happened to us. Is it was a weekend thing, go make a little bit of money doing something that I enjoy on the side, and yeah, so.
And it looks like you have really, so it looks like all organic.
Not organic.
Not organic.
Naturally, yeah, not
Okay.
organic. There are some ingredients that are organic. That I feel like that kind of drives prices up a little bit higher than I like to do.
Oh, I see the fragrance. Okay, gotcha. But you're using hemp seed, jojoba, and castor, and vitamin E. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good carrier oil blend.
Yeah. I like the thicker, more viscous type of
And
beer
meadow
oil.
foam seed oil.
Yeah. We had that in there before Dan C did his video on it.
I know, that's pretty cool. That's cool. Yeah. So did JOFM have meadow foam? That's where I first saw it. Yep. That's where I
Bam
first
was one
saw
of the
it.
first companies I saw using it. Well, just that I noticed using it. I'm not saying he was the first one to ever do it, but he was the first one that I actually noticed was using that ingredient.
Yeah.
Well, so we switched over at the beginning of this year. Actually, I was our oils prior to 2020 were argan oil, jojoba oil, grapeseed oil, and sweet almond oil. And I really liked those. I felt like the my beard was really soft with that combination. I wanted something to keep the flyaways. Like my beard is really curly. Like to get it to even be like this, like I have to go through it with a heated comb or like blow dry the shit out of it to get it like this, right? Like it's like up here if I don't do that. So
And so you guys have balms, oils, and mustache wax, and then you also additionally have soaps that you're selling. And then
just came out with that. Just barely came out with the beard soap.
That's cool. That's cool.
Solid shampoo bar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. So just a plug to try take a look at them. They have, how many scents do you have? 3 or 4?
So we have 2.
2, okay.
That are in full production. Like at farmers markets, we do the seasonal. Like at one time, we had like 10 different scents. I just find that when you have that many, especially when you're doing small batch, and you're just at farmers markets, the number of people purchasing just isn't enough to justify making large batches of those things. And just stick to the ones that I like the most. So original scent is our sage, cedar, and orange. It's more like the mountainy, like you're hiking in Utah. That's where I'm at. I'm in Utah. Yeah, and then the tree mint is more like a York peppermint patty. And we got the peppermint, vanilla, a little bit of tea tree in there. So it's got that sweeter top notes to it with that nice, smooth, warm vanilla as your base note. So
like this close to buying right there.
There you go.
Please do.
The kit,
love it.
the legendary
I'm not
kit
gonna
for all of it's only $40 for the soap, the balm, the oil, and the wax. The whole thing is $40.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's close. That's close.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to spend right now.
So you're out of
don't
Logan,
overthink,
Utah,
right?
which is, where is Logan, in the mountains, or is it in,
Yeah,
where is Logan?
So we are, that's northern Utah. It's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes from the Idaho border. We're right in the mountains. I mean, I can get on a mountain bike and be up the mountains in like 10 minutes. Driving is 5 minutes. So we're like right there. We're in a little valley that is surrounded by mountains. It's really, really beautiful. It's kind of deserty still, though. Utah's not like, it's not going to be like Wyoming or Colorado where it's like really, really green, it's green in April and May, but then we get to fire risk for the rest of the year because everything goes out.
Yeah.
But
It's a crazy thing. We saw,
Yeah.
so we were coming back home, and I hadn't heard a lot about fires, right? And so we're coming home from the mountains in Arizona, and huge fire started up the first weekend that everybody's traveling and stuff. I was just like, oh, no, not this again.
yeah, well, man, fires. So, COVID hit, talking about like all the crazy things happening in the world. So you had COVID hit, then like Utah had like a 5.8 earthquake, like
Oh.
shortly
Wow.
thereafter, near our capital, Salt Lake City. Luckily there wasn't a whole lot of deaths or anything like that. Quite a few people injured, but man, I was like, what's happening? It's the end of the world or what's up?
Yeah, right. Felt like
It's
it.
it is the apocalypse. Just
Johnny, aren't you so glad we live in Jersey where like none of that stuff happens?
I have murder hornets in my town, so
murder
Dude,
hornets.
That's
Yeah.
not cool.
do you ever get anybody else feel like that was like some divine intervention? Like, oh, COVID's here, stay inside. People were like, hell no. Oh
And
yeah,
then the murder
There you
hornets
go.
came. Yeah.
murder hornets. Now you want to go outside?
Mother,
No, I'm
Mother, Mother Nature was like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, you want to go out? Yeah, exactly."
Yeah.
I thought
I
about
know
that.
Utah doesn't get earthquakes though. I mean, they've been saying that we're bound to have like a massive one that's gonna like, destroy cities and whatnot. But so far so good. I
Yeah, I don't
guess.
think it's gonna
Yeah.
happen in our
It's kinda
lifetime,
big.
but yeah.
But yeah,
West Coast has always been kind of, we've had them in Arizona several times. My sister used to live in Hollywood, so it was always kind of crazy. Where are you at, Tevin?
I am in Western Kentucky. Literally
No earthquakes there. Yeah. So
I don't feel any earthquakes. I mean, we have them.
yeah,
I'm just asleep when they happen.
yeah. Well, guys, I am on call again on Thursday. So somebody just pinged me, so I have to vamoose from. But I really, really appreciate Brian coming on today. That was extremely nice. I appreciate all of my fellow reviewers table sharing their stories. That was huge to me. I'm a little bit mushy sometimes, but having a supportive system of dudes that are just awesome. I can't ask for better brotherhood than this. So I totally appreciate it. And all I had to say was, hey, are you guys up for a stream with a therapist? So I don't think that it's always an easy thing. I don't think it's always an easy thing for people, but I totally appreciate these guys getting on here and then sharing what they did. So I appreciate it. And we will be probably doing another stream on Reviewers Table, not this Friday, but next Friday.
Okay.
And we expect to have everybody else come and join, and definitely subscribe to this channel so that you can see these reviewers tables come up. We have a lot of fun on these reviewers tables, and I think that Joe's actually going to be he's thinking about doing a reviewers table after dark. So after my wife kicks me out of the room. There's Joe is saying, hey, I'll host it, and because we could go on, I think that we honestly could probably talk for 3 or 4 more hours, or it seems like we have really good live streams, we have really good awesome people participating. So I think Joe will probably be hosting that after, so we'll just have to jump from my stream to his stream if we're in the mood, and we got definitely some really good fun times coming ahead. So thanks for joining, everybody who did. I appreciate all the questions and a lot of the comments. I saw some really excellent, very therapeutic comments from a lot of different people that I didn't know, and it sounds like there's some really awesome people in our community that are very supportive. Any last words, Brian? What's going on? I always give what's going on for this week. What do you got going on? Do you got any product releases? Do you have anything new going on in your life?
Yeah, well, let's see. as far as High Mountain Sage stuff goes, we don't have any product releases planned soon. We are working on more cologne-like scents. The tree mint and the original are essential oils, so they're not like your really super potent, last all day long type of scents. I personally prefer that for myself. That's why I made them that way, right? However, I know that there's lots of folks that like the cologne like scents, so we're working on getting something like that going. So be watching our Instagram for that at High Mountain Sage, and check out our beard soap made with real beer that I brew, and then finished off with the soap making process by Wild Water Soapery, my good friends. And support.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, definitely check him out. Tevin, what do you have on your plate this week?
I plan to shoot another video and stay safe and quarantined in my house with my crazy family.
Good. I hope you have a little bit more therapy today with some more coping skills. Now that we've talked
I need to do
how
those
mindset.
breathing exercises.
That's right. Practice them before you get there. Practice. That's
Box
always
breathing. 4x4
Yes.
by 4x4.
Yeah, there you go. Joe, what do you got going on, buddy?
Well, since there's no reviewers table, I'll say it here. Thank you to the community. The final number's in. We raised $4,694 in less than 2 hours for the Children's Tumor Foundation.
Awesome.
So thank you to the community. You guys are amazing. Tomorrow I'll be putting out my top 5 for just Jolly Old Fat Man, my top 5 scent list for BAM, because I've got about 15 of them here. So it was pretty cool to go through and actually pick out which ones were my favorite and all that. And then we will be doing some more filming, hopefully, if my brother ever shows up. If not, the plan is I'm just going to take like a mop and stand it next to me and pre-record some phrases, and we'll go from there.
I like the smell of those Pop-Tarts. Okay, awesome, man. Thank you. Mr. Chipmunk feeding, comb breaking Johnny, what do you got going on, buddy?
I dropped 2 videos today, so I'm not gonna have anything tomorrow. My next video is probably gonna be Monday or Tuesday, and I'm just gonna be reviewing this shaving soap right here for hair.
That's awesome.
Right on.
Yeah, it smells amazing, and yep. So that's the next thing coming. Gotta wait for the hair on my head to grow a little.
Yeah, cool. Right on. Thank you guys for joining. We will see you guys next time. We'll be back on this stream in a week. So not this Thursday, but we'll be doing the Friday one. So we hope to see you guys all again. Thank you very much. And thank you again, Brian. Awesome time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And it was really great meeting all of you. Trying to get more involved in the community, and you guys are making it easy to want to come back. So cool.
Awesome. Yep. We'll have you back, man. We'll have you back. Thank you.
All right.